Welcome back, everybody. We've seen a lot of government whistleblowers lately coming out to disclose that there's something strange going on with some parts of our military and intelligence agencies and UAP's unidentified anomalous phenomena. So what's behind it all? Joining us now, the author of the new book, Catastrophic Disclosure, Kent Heckenlively. Kent, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. You know, there is a recent fascination for a lot of Americans because Republicans have sought out transparency in this arena. Tell us about your book.
Yeah, so Catastrophic Disclosure started about 2 years ago when I listened to the Congressional hearings with David Grusch. Now, I've never written about anything paranormal like this. This is my first walk on the wild side. I've usually covered corruption in government, science, big media, big tech. But when I heard those hearings, I understood how those whistleblowers had to be vetted by Congress. And, you know, in one way or another, we've crossed an amazing Rubicon. There's only two choices now. Choice number one is the government has been lying to us in the past. Choice number two is, for some reason, the government is lying to us now. But all of the hoops that these whistleblowers have had to jump through makes me believe that this is a genuine effort. And when I write my books, I usually write it with a co-author who's well-versed in the area. And so my co-author on this book is a guy named Michael Mazzola, who's probably one of the world's leading UFO documentary filmmakers. And when I called him up and asked about the congressional hearings, he gave me this expression. He said, behind the scenes, what they're hearing from the government and intelligence officials is that we're going to enter a period of controlled disclosure because they're scared of what they call catastrophic disclosure. And being a writer, I love words. And so when I heard those two words together, it was like catnip to me. And I said, I have to chase that down. Now, what is catastrophic disclosure? Well, I believe after 2 years of writing this book, it's that the government is pretty comfortable eventually coming out and telling us there are these craft in the sky and we may have recovered the bodies. What they don't want to talk about is the fact that this technology has been captured, it's been given out to private industry, and they may have done a relatively good job of reverse engineering some of the technology in ways that would be very disruptive to our current economic model.
Wow. All right. You start your book at a very important time, July 1945, the first nuclear explosion, and you work the reader through to the 1947 Roswell recovery. Tell us a little bit about why you started there.
Yeah, one of the things that really bugged me about the Roswell story is it didn't hold together as a narrative for me. Because what I heard from the UFO people is that we blow up the first nuclear bomb in July of 1945, and then 2 years later, in July of 1947, aliens show up. And that didn't seem like it made a lot of sense to me. The other thing that concerned me about the Roswell crash is how well organized the recovery program seemed to be. And that led me to a book by Jacques Vallée and Paola Harris called The Trinity Crash. And what that alleges is that there was a UFO crash near the nuclear test site 1 month after the first nuclear explosion. And that made a lot more sense to me, especially when I read the details of how the recovery was not really that great. And it made a lot of sense to me because in terms of what's happened security-wise, because if you look at the timeline,
Does make sense.
you know,
I don't want to have to cut you off, but I want to make sure we give a shout out to your book before we go because I want people to go out and get it. Everyone, it is called Catastrophic Disclosure by Kent Heckenlively. Kent, we're going to have you back on to discuss more of this. This is so intriguing. Thanks so much. All right, everybody. Thanks to all of you for being here. We will be back here tomorrow night.